Hi, my name is Atencia and I'm a Senior Financial Advisor at Nexia, Sydney. Welcome to our video blog series on financial planning for families. In today's topic, I'm going to be talking about managing your debt. And this is pretty important because essentially most of us have some form of debt in place, whether that's a credit card, a HECS help debt, a car loan or a personal loan, as well as a mortgage. So debt can essentially be a pretty useful and effective tool to help you build your wealth, but it's just really a matter of ensuring that you get an understanding of where that debt is positioned and how to manage that going forward. The first tip that I have for you is to firstly categorize all the debts that you have in place into firstly good debt as well as bad debt. When I say good debt, I mean the loans that you have attached to assets that are actually appreciating in value, such as your home, an investment property, or even an investment portfolio. Bad debt talks about the loans that are attached to assets that don't necessarily appreciate in value, such as a car. The general rule of thumb is to pay off that bad debt as quickly as possible, because that's generally also associated with quite high interest rates. So once we're prioritizing that, you can already start to see that your surplus cash flow is already being alleviated further. You can further break down good debt into tax deductible and non-deductible debt. Our home loan, unfortunately, is not the most efficient form of debt in a sense where the interest payments on it isn't tax deductible. But then when we're looking at loans that are tax deductible, so for example, an investment property or investment portfolio, then, again, the focus would be to repay that non-deductible debt before the deductible debt. I guess another tip to consider is potentially consolidating your debt together if you can. And there are obviously things to consider as part of this process. We just want to make sure that there's a clear discrepancy between the non-deductible versus the deductible, but it can be a good way to reduce interest rates that are normally quite high into something that's more in line with, say, your home loan. After all that, you can also consider further borrowing for the purposes of building your family's wealth, and also start to consider strategies like purchasing an investment property that you may, for example, eventually want to pass down to your children so that they can get their foot in the door into the property market. When we're talking about debt, there are quite a few things that need to be taken into consideration. So firstly, understanding your risk profile. Generally, these sorts of gearing strategies are most associated with those who are willing to take on a high level of risk in pursuit of those longer term investment returns. Secondly, it's also getting a pretty good understanding of your cash flow position and making sure that you do have quite a strong surplus position so that you have a contingency plan in place when interest rates rise, as an example. And thirdly, making sure that you do have a separate contingency plan in place, such as insurance, to make sure that if you have an illness and you can't work, that those loan obligations continue to be met through for example, your income protection insurance. So there are quite a few things to consider. As always, feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.